travel beyond the stars and unlock the mysteries of the universe.
Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered what secrets are hidden in the darkness, just beyond our sight? What if I told you that some of the most profound mysteries aren't in distant galaxies, but were once orbiting right above our heads, a legacy of the Cold War's silent cosmic battlefield? We often think of the space race as a noble pursuit of exploration, a contest between nations to reach the moon. But beneath this veneer of scientific achievement lay a darker, more clandestine competition. This was a race to weaponize space itself, to gain the ultimate high ground in a conflict that threatened to engulf the world. While NASA's missions were televised for all to see, the Soviet Union was conducting a series of highly classified programs, experiments so audacious they blur the line between historical fact and science fiction. Let's begin with a known reality. The Almaz program, publicly, it was presented as a civilian space station, a counterpart to but its true purpose was far more militaristic. Almaz was a crude military reconnaissance platform, a spy in the sky. But it was more than just a camera. Tucked away on its exterior was a modified 23mm Nodelman Richter aircraft cannon. Imagine that! A cannon in orbit. Official records state it was test-fired in space on January 24, 1975. Just after the last crew had departed. The station was remotely aimed, and it fired a volley of shots into the void. This wasn't a test of a weapon against a target. It was a proof of concept. The Soviets demonstrated that a projectile weapon could be fired from a crude platform in the vacuum of space without destabilizing it. The era of space combat had quietly and terrifyingly begun. But this is where the story deepens, moving from the documented to the esoteric. What was the true purpose of firing a cannon in space? A conventional weapon like this has limited tactical use in orbital mechanics. A target moving at thousands of miles per hour is almost impossible to hit with an unguided projectile. Was this simply a brute force experiment, or was it a cover for something else? Some researchers speculate that the kinetic force and energy release were being studied for reasons beyond simple ballistics. In ancient traditions, rituals often involve a symbolic act of power to influence the world. Could the firing of the Almaz cannon be seen as a form of technological ritual, an attempt to assert dominance not just on Earth, but over the cosmic realm itself? It's a strange thought, but in the high-stakes world of the Cold War, where psychological operations were as important as military ones, projecting an image of cosmic power had its own strategic value. The story doesn't end with Almaz. Let's talk about the Paleus spacecraft, also known as Skif, launched on May 15, 1987. This massive, black-painted vessel was the Soviet response to America's Star Wars program, the Strategic Defense Initiative. Officially, Paleus was an unarmed prototype designed to test orbital systems. It was launched on the first flight of the powerful Energia rocket, the same booster designed to carry the Buran space shuttle. But things went disastrously wrong. Due to a software error, after separating from the rocket, Paleus oriented itself incorrectly and fired its engines, sending it plummeting back into the atmosphere to burn up over the Pacific Ocean. A colossal failure. Or was it? The official narrative is one of costly error. But let's look closer. Peleus was rumored to be equipped with a megawatt-class carbon dioxide laser. Its mission, according to some insiders, was to test the ability to shoot down targets in orbit. The timing is crucial. This was during a period of intense Cold War tension. A successful test of a space-based laser weapon would have dramatically shifted the global balance of power. Now, consider the failure. Was it truly an accident, or was it an intentional self-destruct? Perhaps the political climate on the ground, with Gorbachev's reforms of glasnost and perestroika, made such an aggressive demonstration untenable. Perhaps there were factions within the Soviet system at war with each other, one pushing for technological escalation, the other for the destruction of Peleus could have been a deliberate act of sabotage to prevent a war in the heavens. This brings us to a more mystical interpretation. Think of the symbolism. Peleus, a weapon of immense power, fails to reach orbit and is consumed by fire. In many esoteric traditions, such an event would be seen as a powerful omen. It's the story of Icarus flying too close to the sun. Was this the universe itself rejecting the weaponization of space? Or perhaps, in a more grounded sense, was it a moment of collective human consciousness turning away from a path of self-destruction? The idea that our collective intent can influence events is a cornerstone of many spiritual beliefs. Could the catastrophic failure of this ultimate weapon have been, in some strange way, a victory for peace? A technological exorcism performed on a global stage? Beyond cannons and lasers, there are whispers of even stranger projects. Files from the Soviet era hint at research into psychotronic weapon devices intended to influence the human mind from a distance. The concept of beaming thoughts or emotions from orbit sounds like pure fantasy, yet declassified documents from both sides of the Iron Curtain confirm that research into extrasensory perception and psychokinetic influence was taken very seriously. Imagine a satellite not armed with missiles, but with an energy field capable of inducing fear, confusion, or compliance over entire populations. This wasn't about destroying bodies. It was about conquering minds. What evidence exists for such things? Mostly anecdotal accounts, fragmented documents, and the testimony of there is no smoking gun. No declassified blueprint of a psychotronic satellite. But the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. The research was compartmentalized, shrouded in layers of secrecy. If such a program existed, its failure or success would be one of the most closely guarded secrets in human history. From a historical perspective, it was the logical endpoint of the Cold War's psychological warfare. But from an esoteric standpoint, it represents a profound transgression, the attempt to mechanize the human soul, to turn consciousness itself into a target. This pursuit mirrors ancient warnings found in texts across the world about forbidden knowledge, about powers that humanity is not meant to wield. So, where does this leave us? We have historical facts. A cannon fired in space, a weapons platform that mysteriously failed. We have esoteric interpretations, technological rituals, cosmic omens, and the spiritual implications of weaponizing consciousness. And finally, we have open questions. First, could some of these failed tests have actually been partial successes, their true results hidden from the world? Perhaps the Peleus spacecraft didn't achieve orbit, but did it manage to test its laser for a few brief moments before its demise? The data from even a few seconds of operation would have been invaluable. Second, what happened to this technology and the scientists behind it after the Soviet Union collapsed? Did it simply vanish? Or was it sold off to other nations, or perhaps to private corporations, disappearing into the clandestine world of the global arms trade? The idea that orbital weapon technology from the 1980s could now be in unknown hands is a deeply unsettling thought. And here is the most provocative hypothesis. What if these programs never truly ended? The geopolitical landscape has changed, but the strategic value of space has only increased. It's naive to think that the world's major powers have abandoned the idea of space dominance. Perhaps the research simply went deeper underground, evolving into forms we can't yet imagine, operating under new names and new flags. The silent war for the high ground may still be happening right now in the quiet darkness above us. We are left staring at the intersection of documented history and speculative mystery. The secret Soviet space weapon tests were more than just military experiments. They were a reflection of humanity's deepest anxieties and grandest ambitions. They were a technological quest that brushed up against the metaphysical, forcing us to ask fundamental questions about power, ethics, and our place in the cosmos. The truth is likely a complex tapestry woven from all these threads: military ambition, political intrigue, technical failure, and perhaps, just perhaps, forces and meanings that we are only beginning to understand. The sky above is not as empty as it seems. What do you think? Were these programs simply the logical but failed steps of a Cold War superpower? Or are we looking at evidence of a deeper, stranger history unfolding in the orbits above our planet? Let me know your theories in the comments. I'm really curious to hear what you think. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the shadows of the space race. If you found this exploration intriguing, please hit that like button, share this video with someone who loves a good mystery, and be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more deep dives into the unknown. See you next time.